Welcome, 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 welcome to the Let's Go Live show. Welcome. Now, we are all reversed, so we are going to say welcome. This is the Let's Go Live show, and we are going to be talking about the settings in OBS Studio and how you can optimize them by using certain settings versus other settings for OBS and other broadcast software especially. So let's get started. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about the OBS Studio settings that you need to have a good live stream. And we are going to possibly skip the intro because we have to get off and drop something off. So we're going to have a really quick show today. So this is week 9 and this is all about settings for smooth streaming on the Let's Go Live show. On today we're going to talk about why stream settings matter. Good settings prevent lag and drop frames. If you drop frames, it's what they call it in the software, that means usually it will stop the live stream because it can only drop so many frames before it basically cancels itself. So at all times you have to make sure that you are not dropping frames. So a smooth video keeps viewers watching longer. Poor settings cause frustration for you and your viewers. If you can't be reliable with either your multi-streamer or your broadcasting software, it's time to get another one. You don't need perfection, but you just need stability for your stream. So for example, right now my stream is, let's see, no drop frames and the bit rate is 526 kps, and we'll talk about that briefly soon and what that means. So there are some rules to live streaming, and I think that we have a slide on that later, so we'll go over it later. So one of the things that you're going to need to do is have a resolution and a frame rate that is good enough to keep a live stream alive for the time that you want it. So right now I am using 1920 by 1080 pixels as the size of my software video. Why? The only reason is because I'm too lazy to change it to 1080 by 720. No, it makes for a good TV broadcast on TV video, but normally you only need 720 times 1080p to make a good recording, and in fact that's usually what I use, because at this point, let me see, my CPU is 33% using of my computer. My GPU is 41% and my memory is 2,124 megabytes. So if I reduced my size of my video to 720 by 1080 by 720, it would be using less memory and it would be a smaller file. Now there is a thing that you need definitely is 30 frames per second is enough for most shows, and you won't have it drop, and it certainly looks good. And you don't need 60 frames per second, not yet anyway. Even for TV channels, you can have 30 FPS and it will work just fine. There'll be no jumping, no lagging, no cutting out of the show in the video. So of course higher settings means better streams, but you also are using more of your computer power, as I mentioned. So I should probably find out what 1080 by 720 would be for memory, but I'm not going to do that during the show. I'll probably have a comparison. I should make a comparison checklist on that. So let's go and then have a look at some other things. Okay, bitrate. So what is this bitrate they're talking about? it is controls how much data is sent to the platform. And if it's too high, the bit rate, then you'll get buffering. And I'm sure you all know from watching Netflix or any other streaming channel what buffering is and how it takes forever for a show to set up. And too low, of course, you get a blurry video. So you can definitely have a good quality video at 1080 by 720. That's even good enough for TV channels as long as it's 30 frames per second. And of course, whatever the platform recommends, it certainly matters, because the streaming on your software onto your internet streaming Ethernet is very important. And you need to make sure that you have a certain upload and download of your live stream going onto your Ethernet in order for this to work. So that is something that you have to consider. And then I mentioned my CPUs versus GPUs. CPUs are more flexible. You can add more load onto your CPU of your computer. GPUs are efficient if it's supported, but depending on the computer and the software you use and the motherboard you have on your computer, you may find that it's not stable enough. So what you need to do is to always consider using what keeps your OBS stable. So what keeps your OBS software from falling and going offline. So you need to test this a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, and then stop tweaking in terms of your CPU. If it's going to work, then it's fine. Mine is still working fine, and my bit rate now is 471 kps. And as you know from looking at my videos on YouTube, they work very well, and obviously YouTube will optimize them to play the best they can. So here's a quick start stability checklist for you. You should close all unused apps, which I have not done. I should do that, but once you get something, you usually don't get around to doing that. But I should close my tune-up, and I have obviously I've got to keep my PowerPoint open, but I did close my LinkedIn connection because it was using a lot of the browser. Of course you want to use wired internet at all times, really. Ethernet plug into your computer for your internet provider, because this does take up a lot of memory. So you can run, of course, a private test stream a couple of times, even different times of the day. I know that my brother lives in an apartment, and because he lives in an apartment and he's on Wi-Fi, when people are at home and there's more people in the apartment building, then he has dropping of his Wi-Fi quite a lot. So of course they don't have the good feed, but this is something to consider when you're doing it. It's not something you can really do too often in some place like Starbucks or other coffee shops, because their Wi-Fi is being used by so many. So once you figure out what your settings are that work really well and give you good quality video, then you save those settings and so that'll keep it stable. For example, I have a multi-streamer software, and so this is sending out to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, and somewhere else. YouTube, of course. And if one day I couldn't, basically what it does is it takes the live stream and sends it to a location close to me, and then sends it back to me to the various platforms. So you have where it bounces now is Seattle. It used to be Los Angeles, and it took longer for the stream to go live. So you have to do lots of changes to your settings to make it the best it can be. And once it's stable, you could always make note of all your settings and keep them that way. And then, of course, common setting mistakes are just copying your settings from YouTube or anywhere else blindly without considering what kind of software you're using. So, I mean, YouTube will tell you you can have certain settings and that it'll work fine, but it may not work well for your broadcaster software. And of course, overloading your low power computers in terms of your CPU. I did actually update my computer to a gaming computer. Those usually work the best for it because, of course, gamers are using a lot of power and usually have a couple of motherboards or whatever on various GPUs, etc. And then, of course, you want to change your settings every stream. Just making sure that there's that you've pressed all the correct buttons. And of course, your software updates. Always make sure you update your software. Check before you start. And ignore the test streams. If you find that if you're ignoring what happens when it falls, then you're not going to do a good one when you want to go live and do a real recording. So those are some of the common mistakes for your settings when you're streaming. So you want to make sure that you're always going to be live, of course. I'm still live. I haven't dropped any frames. When you start dropping frames, then you know it's time to figure out why. So to get on my list to find out more about my upcoming Visibility 24/7 training, you can go and sign up at http://jane-gardner.com/live and find out more about what's going on and how you too can also get checklists for starting your own live stream. So right now my software probably needs to be updated, so I've been using my presentation. This is one thing that I haven't mentioned about. I should talk about the benefits of having OBS, maybe, and doing another training live, or not live, but recorded live, showing you how to set it up and how easy it is. Next time. I'm not too sure what I'm doing next time. And then we'll go on to another software. So thank you for listening. This is Jane Gardner, and we'll see you on the inside. I'm getting that community set up real soon so that you can start streaming.